Have you ever wished that you could go back through the mists of time and see some of the ancient wonders of the world? Well, I did that a couple of years ago when I took you all back to ancient Egypt. Whoa, boy did that suck bad. Look at that Sphinx. As you can see, my latest attempt is to build a 3D model of the Acropolis and all the different buildings that are up there, including the Parthenon, which everybody knows about. But there's a lot of more important buildings, like this one here, which is called the Acropolis, which was the only way onto the top of the Acropolis. So that was the entryway. Another important building was this little temple here in the front. This was called the Temple of Nike, and most of that is still standing. They're rebuilding that right now. Now this other building back here is the Shrine of Artemis. She was the goddess of hunting and fertility. And it's not really a temple, it's a shrine for her. This next building is called the Bronze Treasury. And there's little known about what it actually did, what people did there. But anyway, the next building here is the Parthenon itself. And believe it or not, this is not the main building that people went to go see. Mostly because the general public was not allowed in there. Now you'll see here at the very front they had a screen that blocked off the front. They would open the doors and people could come up the steps here and stand in front of the doorway and look in at the great statue of Athena that was inside there. And that statue was made of gold and ivory and cost more than the Parthenon itself. Now the Parthenon was not the first Parthenon. There was another one that stood here on top of this plaza thing here, which stands up a few feet above the ground, and the Persians destroyed that building. And when they rebuilt, they decided to build it in a different location. Now, the most important building actually was this one here, which is called the Erechtheion. And it is unique in several respects. Probably the most important one is this unique Porch of the Maidens. Now what's unique about the Porch of the Maidens is the fact that the Greeks would paint all their sculptures. And you'll also see that in the pediment of the Parthenon. Now inside of the Erechtheion itself was a piece of olive wood that is said to have fallen from heaven, dropped by Athena herself, and they worshiped that piece of wood as if it was a statue of her, but it was just a hunk of wood according to the only witness that gave a description of it. Now, on this side of the Erechtheion is this stone box, which is open on the top, and people would look inside this down to a fissure in the bedrock that is said to have been caused by Poseidon striking his trident there, trying to impress the Athenians when there was a contest between him and Athena as to who would be the patron god of Athens. Well, out of that fissure came either salt water or a horse. I think it was probably a horse. I don't know how salt water would impress him. But after he did that, then Athena struck her spear right here, and the olive tree sprang up, and the Athenians decided that the olive tree was worth more to them than salt water or the horse, whichever one came out of that fissure. And they chose Athena as the patron god and named the city Athens. Now this building here is called the Acropolis, and in this building lived two girls between the ages of 8 and 11. They would live there for a year at a time, and they would weave cloth from which they would make a dress to put on the great statue of Athena inside the Parthenon. Now this statue of Athena is bronze, and it would be the first thing people would see as they came up through the Acropolis. And sailors said they could see that all the way out to sea, and they kind of used it as a guide in coming into port. Now, as you can see here, everything is different shades of gray because it doesn't have any material or textures applied to it. And we're going to go ahead and do that right now, put some textures on there so we can see what it looks like. And that's a preview of the next 3 installments of the Acropolis. Here we see the statue of Athena herself in the Parthenon, and you'll see in her right hand stands a statue of the winged Nike, and her hand is resting on a pillar. She has her shield, the snake, and the spear. The only thing missing is a reflecting pool that was in front of it so that it would increase the amount of light, and also moisture in the air to keep the ivory and wood moist. We will now preview what it looks like inside by opening the doors and adding the materials and the textures to the inside of the Parthenon. I hope that this preview was whet your appetite to watch the next 3 installments as we go back through the mists of time and discover the ancient Acropolis.